We've got a lot to discuss, so let's get into it right away. The disastrous budget bill passed. What are its implications? We'll break it down. The MAGA Republicans who said they would never vote for this, they caved quickly. Also, the Trump regime will be sending Marines into Florida to help the ICE raids. We'll talk about that. They opened up Alligator Alcatraz this week, a concentration camp in the Everglades. It has very quickly flooded. Who would have thought by putting a concentration camp in swamp areas subject to massive tropical storms at this time of year that it would flood? We will talk about that. The Trump regime has not done any actual trade deals as we approach that deadline. Donald Trump says he will be sending countries letters, and he's calling the letters a deal. He did claim he made a deal with Vietnam. The only deal that really looks like it took place, though, was a Trump building in Ho Chi Minh City for about $1.5 billion. We'll talk about that. The United States dollar is at its weakest opening since 1973. The dollar is crashing. That's a story that's not getting enough attention. It shows that the world is increasingly looking less and less to the United States as the reserve currency. Yesterday, we got ADP private sector job data. We were expecting a gain of jobs. ADP reports from their payroll data, 33,000 jobs were lost. But today, miraculously, the regime's data claimed 147,000 jobs were created. That 47 number started looking very suspicious to me, kind of like Donald Trump says, I like the number 47. Let's just do 47. When I looked at the crosstabs as well, you saw that the growth that the regime claimed took place was hiring of public sector teachers, an explosion in June of public sector teachers and government created jobs when they've been cutting government jobs. So that makes absolutely no sense. I'll break that down. I ain't trying to be conspiratorial. I'm just telling you what the data says. Teacher jobs being created, huh? Next, I want to talk about the phone call between Trump and Vladimir Putin, where Putin, based on the readout published by Russia, which has no contradiction by the U.S., says he will continue the special operation in Ukraine until Ukraine is destroyed, and also that Trump and Putin discussed making movies together and exchanging cultural products like movies and music to bring the countries together. We'll talk about that and more here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. A lot to discuss. Obviously, we have to talk about the disastrous budget bill. I don't want to get lost in translation, all of these other things. We'll talk about them all.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on. Obviously, the budget bill has been the top story now for a while. It was very contentious. There was a lot of back and forth between the Republicans internally, back and forth between the Democrats. We saw Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries basically speak all night, setting a record to try to hold the vote back. I think the significance of that, more so than setting the record, was making it so that these Republicans had to do this vote in the light of day. They wanted to pass this in the dark of night, under the cover of darkness, to hide what they were doing from the American people. They were forced to do that now in broad daylight, and then they were dancing and celebrating. It was truly a disgraceful display. Just so disheartening to see how people could be celebrating, ripping away people's health care, gutting our clean energy investments, decimating SNAP, doing all the other various things that they're doing while they give more benefits to the wealthy. Just very typical Republican Party. I'm not even going to say the Trumpist Republican Party, but this has always been their goal, going back for decades and decades and decades. Whenever they get power, their goal is to strip away programs that help the most vulnerable in order to help their billionaire buddies. That is exactly what they did here. We'll get into all the details. First, I'll toss it over to Jordy. Jordy, what's the latest?
Hey, I'm doing as best as we all can be doing right now. I mean, I don't think anyone's more upset than Senator Murkowski out of Alaska, guys. Her hope was that the House, what did she say? My hope is the House is going to look at this and recognize that we're not there yet. You know what? These Republican quote unquote leaders are feckless, man. Totally spineless losers. Benji, where do you want to start off?
I just want to say, Jordy, you see the game that they play there, right? Too. What does the House do? The House says, we admit this bill is so terrible. It's awful, but don't worry. we'll pass this off to the Senate and the Senate's going to fix it. The Senate makes it worse. And then you have people like Murkowski who go, oh, this bill is so horrible. And it pained me to vote for it. It was so difficult. I had the worst time of my life voting for it. How about the people whose healthcare you just ripped away? Oh, woe is me. It's so hard to vote for it. I hope the House, I just know the House is going to fix it. Send it back to the House. No, it doesn't get fixed, just gets passed. Americans get screwed over. The rich get richer. It's the same old story, and they just lie. And I think that's going to be a theme today as we go through these various stories. And it's just a phrase that I've kind of landed on in my head. They just lie. That's just what they do. They don't care about facts. They don't care about the truth. They don't care how big of a lie. In fact, the bigger the lie, the better for them. The more blatant the lie, the better for them. But we'll dig into it all. But Ben, where shall we begin today?
Let's begin. Look, Trump's a felon. Trump's a fraud. Trump is a sexual abuser. Trump is someone who has bankrupted entity after entity in the past. You know how they say with casinos, the house always wins? Go and look at how many times Donald Trump bankrupted casinos over and over again. And he uses a lot of the same tactics that he bankrupted them to bankrupt the United States of America now. Let me list this for you. Trump Magazine, Trump Vodka, Trump Airlines, Trump Steaks, Trump Water, Trump Mortgage, Trump Travel, Trump The Game, Trump Casinos, Trump University, Trump Foundation. These are all things that Donald Trump either destroyed or bankrupted over and over again. And I think you have to start there because a lot of what the MAGA Republicans said, who said they would never support this disastrous budget bill. It's like, well, what convinced you? Well, we went to the White House and he made a lot of promises to us and he said he was going to do things in the future. Well, did anything change in the bill? Did anything change in the writing? Because you said you would never vote for something that took away Medicaid from this many millions of people. Or to other Republicans, you would never vote for something that will add trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And you've said that this disastrous budget bill does all of these things. And you had different Republicans not want to support this bill for different reasons, but they said never, ever. So they go to the White House, and according to most reports, they took photographs with Donald Trump. He signed autographs for them, and then they changed their mind. And we'll talk about this later in the show. Last night, Fox was running what they called a coercion campaign. That was the word that Fox used. And their tactics weren't justifying the bill. We'll play you clips later in this episode from MAGA Republican former Congress member Chaffetz, who goes, you took photos with him. You took photos with the guy. He rode his coattail. How could you not vote for him? You took photographs of him. You took photographs. That's the reason you're going to vote for a bill that's going to take 17 million Americans off of Medicaid and is going to add trillions of dollars to our debt and take Americans off of supplemental nutrition assistance program because you took photographs of the guy. But I think you have to start by going back a little bit and taking a look at what Donald Trump did in the past. So Trump shuttle, right? Here's a great example. Don't worry, the debt won't be that bad from the bill because the growth of the economy as a result of this and tariffs, it's going to be just like what Donald Trump promised Trump shuttle was going to be, right? Because he's such a great businessman. Well, what happened there? Let's play the clip.
Look, this is not financially sustainable. It became clear that the Trump shuttle would not grow as an airline.
Trump fired 100 employees. Just 18 months after the Trump shuttle launched, the airline had already lost $128 million. In 1992, Donald Trump decided it was time to bail.
Okay, how about Trump with casinos, Trump Taj Mahal? You realize what he did with casinos is very similar with this disastrous budget bill. He wanted 3 casinos right next to each other in Atlantic City, 3. And people were saying, what do you, 3? That makes no sense. They're going to compete against each other and you're going to bankrupt yourself and you can't finance the debt. You can't sustain it. But what did Donald Trump do? He threw a lavish event with Michael Jackson and said, look at all the gold. Look how fancy this is. And then he bankrupted and destroyed so many lives in Atlantic City. He destroyed basically the entire city. Let me show you just a little bit of a report that ABC did about a decade ago on Trump casinos. Let's play it.
The hotel was advertised as the 8th wonder of the world when it opened in 1990.
One step beyond your wildest imagination.
a symbol of Donald Trump's meteoric rise as a real estate tycoon. Filled with Trump's signature glitz and gold, it cost nearly $1 billion to build.
Is it necessary to build on such a scale?
The scale, Charlie, is what brings the people. The opulence, the size, the everything is what really is going to make the Taj Mahal, I think, the most successful hotel anywhere in the world.
But Monday at 5:59 a.m., the doors were locked at the Taj after 26 years, leaving thousands of middle-class workers without jobs. So how did Trump's crown jewel go from this...
I'm really happy with what I'm seeing.
...to this? I got to show you a picture of what the casino looked like. It was pretty remarkable. Take a look at this.
Wow. It's eerie.
What do you think is the significance of the fact that the Taj Mahal ended in bankruptcy and was just deserted?
It was a signature development for him.
A signature moment for him and a signature disaster for him.
It was a signature bill for him that, by the way, he either didn't read it and is defrauding people, or is cognitively addled because or probably all of the above, because he kept on posting no tax on Social Security. I promise you, this bill, seniors, no tax on Social Security. For those listening on audio, I'm showing you these memes that Donald Trump posted. There is nothing about no tax on Social Security. Trump also says there's nothing in this bill that cuts Medicaid. It literally cuts Medicaid by basically $1 trillion. I mean, if you take the argument from the MAGA Republicans, they at least admit that it cuts Medicaid, but they lie and say, no, don't listen to what the hospitals and the nursing homes say, that 1 in 4 nursing homes in rural areas are going to be shut down, and like 30 or 40% of hospitals in those areas are going to be shut down. Don't listen to what the actual medical providers say. We're telling you that it's actually an issue. 29 to 35-year-old men who are living in their mother's basement playing video games, Medicaid's just making it rain on this group, but they're getting so rich, they're swimming in that Medicaid money. That's how they address it, which is completely false. Medicaid pays the medical provider and pays for medication. It's reimbursement for medical services. There's nobody who goes, you know what I really want today? I'm 29, 35. I live in my mom's basement. Maybe I'm going to get a micro dissection or a spinal fusion today because Medicaid's going to make me rich. That's not the way it works. It reimburses you for your medical procedures, not a check that you get. Look at my Medicaid money. But you know the thing, it's always projection and confession with them. You know who it is the handout to? It's the handout to the billionaires on their yachts.
Exactly.
And with the private jets. That's who actually gets the thing, who now get those benefits that they don't need. And they're billionaires, they're decamillionaires. And you're robbing Peter to pay billionaire Paul at this point, Brett and Jordy.
Yeah, and the other line that they use is they say, oh, all of this Medicaid money, it's the same BS that they pulled with, all the Doge cuts, right? It's all going to illegals. The illegals are they're getting rich off this Medicaid money. Not true. Again, just a total lie. There aren't any undocumented people who are on Medicaid. This is just not a true thing whatsoever, but that doesn't stop them telling their voters that that's what's happening. And then I see the MAGA people, of course, like the NPC characters they go around and they say, oh, yes, it says, no, it's not getting rid of my Medicaid. It's getting rid of the illegals Medicaid. And, the whole thing, like you could break it down. It's like the anatomy of a Trump scam. And this bill is the way it's written, the details of the bill, the whole thing is scam on top of scam on top of scam, because what they do is they throw a little bit of crumbs to people, moderate tax breaks to people over certain tax brackets, major tax breaks to people who are rich, right? They strip away the Medicaid. They give these little, okay, what if I just break it down, okay? And I don't want to go through all the provisions, because there's this no tax on tips, right? First of all, it doesn't apply to all tips. It's a deduction. It applies to federal income tax only, and it expires in 2028. And I want you to pay attention to that. It's temporary. It expires in 2028. They have this no tax on overtime provision. Once again, also a deduction, also expires in a few years from now. What doesn't expire a few years from now? The tax cuts for the rich. Those are permanent. Those stay forever. So you go, okay, take a little bit of crumbs, right? we're giving these tax breaks to these millionaires and billionaires forever. And oh, your medical costs, you'll have to deal with that because we are cutting $930 billion from Medicaid. But here's the scam on that, right? Those cuts don't kick in until after the midterms, which is really one of the most ghoulish, most evil ways that they assembled this bill. Because you know damn well that come 2026, 2027, 2028, when these Republicans are dying, when their families are dying, when they have to say goodbye to their loved ones because they cannot get health care, when people are going bankrupt, what are a lot of these voters going to do unless we make a lot of noise about it? And I want to be clear right now on this show, because you can mark my words, you could save this recording, we could revisit this in a few years when Fox starts using this as a talking point. They're going to say, oh, you know, let's say the Democrats take over during the midterms, which is kind of what is expected at this moment in time. The Democrats take power. All of a sudden, everybody's losing their health care. How could the Democrats do this? You know that's what's going to happen. You know that's what all these influencers are going to push. It's what they do over and over and over again, right? Oh, yeah, the estate tax. The estate tax rose. It's now $15 million for multimillionaires, $30 million for couples. I'm sure that helps you and your family. Great. Another big win for millionaires and billionaires here. 17 million Americans are losing their health care. SNAP is totally decimated. $700 million in cuts to Planned Parenthood, $300 billion to ICE and border enforcement for more of these detention centers. So we'll talk about Alligator Alcatraz, this just really sick facility, this concentration camp they're building in Florida, surrounded by a moat of alligators to eat migrants if they try to get out of this. I mean, the whole thing is just, they march, they got the whole thing. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Well, now the government just got $350 billion in more funding to do Alligator Alcatrazes across the country. More ICE invasions of cities across the country. ICE is now going to be the biggest law enforcement agency in the entire country. Oh, but that child tax credit that your family relied upon, well, that got cut to $1,000 from $2,000. Those solar energy credits that are making the economy run and are making all these jobs. And by the way, in red states, those solar energy credits, the wind energy credits, gutted, EV credits phasing out, and it all adds $3 to $4 trillion to the deficit, $1 trillion to the debt. Oh, and did I mention they're giving subsidies to coal as well? And all these Republican senators who pretended to be with these solar energy credits, these tax energy credits, they went to their constituents, you know, when after these things passed, even if they, you know, didn't even vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, and they went, I brought you all these jobs. I got you all these jobs. We're building all these facilities in Georgia. We're building all these facilities in this state and that state. You see all of these representatives and Congress people and senators hyping up these investments, and then they vote for a bill that removes all of those investments. These are hundreds of thousands of jobs across the country that are, and mostly in red states, that are now being pulled away. Why? Because they want to help coal instead of help move the future of clean energy forward, instead of having the United States be the leader in these technologies. It's insane for so many reasons. It's insane for the environment, obviously, but you could even move past the effect on the environment. It's insane for business. Like, you're screwing over American businesses. It's insane for foreign affairs, because what you're doing right now is you're saying, you know what, China, you be the leader in this space. We're going to stick to coal. Why don't you take over and you lead the way in EVs? You lead the way in solar. You lead the way in wind. The whole thing is just absolutely setting our country backwards by so many years.
And then you look, Brett, and they just lie. All these Republican quote unquote leaders, once again, they just go on TV, they go on their social media platforms, X, Twitter, whatever, and they just lie with impunity every single time about what's actually in the bill. And you know what's actually working against some of them now? The community note stuff on Twitter I saw. You know, Caroline Levitt tweeted out all these things like, oh, no tax on this, no. And then she just got totally owned by everyone. Like, no, this isn't what's happening here. And I'm excited for the show to go into these lies a little bit more of what they're saying to the American people and just dispel them, because it's actually disgusting to see the machine at work the way it's been at work these last 48, 72 hours.
Let me show you this. I'll show another clip about the disastrous Trump casino. And then I want to show, because all of the warnings were there, right? The same way, all of the warnings, it's the same shtick. It's the same shtick. So first, play the casino. Then I'm going to show you the questioning of the leader, the MAGA Republican leader of the Rules Committee, Congress member Arrington, being asked questions by the Democrats. So first, casino from the 1991 that Trump bankrupted. Here, play this clip.
He set his sights on Atlantic City,
gobbling up 3 casinos and stamping his name on every one. The Trump Plaza, Trump Castle, and the grandest of them all, the Trump Taj Mahal,
which he got for a song after the original owner couldn't complete construction. He threw a grand opening as lavish as the hotel itself. The whole spectacle captured for Robin Leach, journalist to the stars. The guest of honor, Michael Jackson.
75,000 fans nearly swept away supermodel Elle Macpherson, but they didn't stop the casino take topping $2 million for the day.
You see the marketing gimmick right there, but there were people who were saying, 3 casinos with your name on it, right? Big, beautiful bill, 3 casinos with your name on it. Watch what happened in the Rules Committee when Democratic Congressmember McGovern questioned MAGA Republican Congressmember Arrington that every single group out there is warning, basically like they did with the casinos, right? You can't do 3 casinos. You're not going to be able to finance your debt. What are you doing? What did Trump? I'm ignoring that. Same thing. Watch it.
And then now we hear a whole different version because, Republicans don't like the numbers. And it's not just CBO saying that your bill will cost trillions. It's every budget modeling organization with any credibility. Do you agree with the Yale Budget Lab that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth? Yes or no?
I probably disagree with most of what's coming out of Yale University.
Do you agree with the Penn-Wharton budget model that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth?
I disagree.
Do you agree with the right-leaning tax foundation that your tax cuts will add trillions of dollars to the deficit even when accounting for growth?
I disagree with every organization you've mentioned because of a growth rate assumption.
And they account for growth. Do you agree with the right-leaning American Enterprise Institute that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit even when accounting for growth?
May I make a clarification?
Yeah.
I mean, you're running through a pretty good list, but I'm
almost done with it.
I think I'll let you finish.
Do you agree with the Tax Policy Center that your tax cuts will add trillions of dollars to the deficit?
No, I don't.
And what about the House Freedom Caucus? That these tax cuts they have a lower estimate, but will add over $1 trillion to the deficit and is way more expensive than the House passed bill.
Here's my position. I don't think Democrats or Republicans have gotten serious about addressing the cumulative deficits into the future, and
it's your budget bill. They listed every group, right-leaning, left-leaning, your own members who ended up voting for something that they said was going to crash the economy. What are we doing here? Like, what are we? And by the way, it was the same thing that people were saying about all those things I listed, all of those Trump businesses. People were saying, this is going to fail. What are you doing here? And Donald Trump would say, nope, nope, nope. Because you know who it benefits? Donald Trump. When people suffer, Trump didn't suffer. Trump just did a deal with Vietnam, for himself, not a real trade deal. Trade deals are comprehensive, 500 pages, 1,000 pages. Trump's getting a building in Vietnam. Okay. Trump is getting a building in Ho Chi Minh City or a resort over there. He's happy. He's going to throw his name on it, make a lot of money. He says with Vietnam that there's going to be a 20% tariff or a 40% tariff if it goes from China to Vietnam into the United States. So we're taxing ourselves 20% to 40%. And then Trump's like, I've opened up Vietnam. They're going to buy all of our products. Vietnam's still like a developing country. There's a deficit because they can't afford our products and they make cheap products that we can afford. That's what a deficit is. It's not like Vietnam's going to say, I'm going to go and start buying IBM microprocessing chip. They can't afford these things. Fundamentally, what they're saying about these things are just ridiculous from the most basic aspect of they don't know what a tariff is. And Trump thinks a trade deficit is a form of a tariff and America losing when it's actually America winning. Brett, I know you have something to say. Jordy, I know you have something to say. Let's take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot of topics to discuss, including Trump's conversation with Putin, where they agreed they want to make movies together while Putin says he's not going to stop invading Ukraine. How about a deal in 24 hours? Oh yeah, Donald Trump's now said that was sarcasm. He never meant that. That's not real. He was joking about all of the peace stuff. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. I want to remind everybody, become a member on our YouTube. Our YouTube memberships are surging right now, and that's really helpful. We don't have outside investors. It helps us grow. It unlocks the emojis. There are special features like my chats that I do with Ron Filipkowski. You can gift as many memberships as you want to people. So sometimes people are like, hey, I really want to make a big contribution. What can I do? Just go and gift as many people memberships as you want. And YouTube delegates those memberships out. So become a member. Also check out MeidasPlus.com. That's our Substack. Let's take a quick break. We've got a lot to discuss. We will be right back.
When was the last time that you truly trusted seafood you brought home? Now, I used to question everything from nutrition and taste to sustainability until I discovered the Wild Alaskan Company. Wild Alaskan Company is the best way to get wild-caught, perfectly portioned, nutrient-dense seafood delivered directly to your door. Trust me, you haven't tasted fish this good. I was so excited the first time I received my shipment from the Wild Alaskan Company. Now, I received my Pacific halibut and pan-seared it that evening. It was delicious. The Wild Alaskan Company is 100% wild-caught, never farmed. This means there are no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives, just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and fishing communities. It's nutrient-rich and full of flavor. Wild Alaskan fish is frozen off the boat to lock in taste, texture, and nutrients like omega-3s. My favorite, it's also sustainably sourced. Wild caught from Alaska, every order supports sustainable harvesting practices, and your memberships delivers flexible shipments, expert tips, and truly feel-good seafood. Now, if you're not completely satisfied with your first box, Wild Alaskan Company will give you a full refund, no questions asked. No risk, just high-quality seafood. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode. You ever step outside and feel like you're instantly drenched in sweat? It's like no matter what you do, it doesn't stop. Now, I know with this heat, that's basically me every day. Now, if you've been struggling with the heat and humidity like I have great news. Mando has just launched something that takes sweat control to the next level. Introducing the Mando Deodorant Plus Sweat Control Solid Stick. It's double protection. Finally, you get the odor control that you love with Mando, plus powerful sweat control. And don't wait. Grab yours right now at shopmando.com and experience the double protection of Mando Deodorant Plus Sweat Control. Now, what I love about Mando is that it actually works. One swipe and you're good to go. This isn't your typical deodorant. It's clinical strength, 2 times better at controlling sweat than the standard. It controls both sweat and odor for 72 hours. And after just 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. This stuff works. Also, it doesn't just mask odor, it prevents it. 100% of a study participants experienced all-day odor protection. And unlike other deodorants loaded with chemicals, Mando uses only premium ingredients like gentle mandelic acid to keep you fresh and dry. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Now, as a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code MEIDAS at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. Let's go. Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links. Use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Wild Alaskan, big fan. Mando, brand new to the network. Show them some love. Can't speak highly enough about both of them. Benji, where to next?
When Donald Trump makes a social media post and says there's a deal, that doesn't mean there's a deal. So corporate news needs to just cut the crap and stop saying a deal has been made. It's not. Where is the deal? Let's see it. We live in a democracy. Show me the deal. I get to see it. You know who's supposed to approve the deal? Congress. If there's a trade deal, show me the terms. A deal isn't we're going to tariff Vietnam 20% to 40%. Deal. That's not a deal. That's not what a trade deal is. Stop calling it that. That's not what it is. We didn't do a deal with the United Kingdom. That's not a deal. I mean, what? We just said that we're going to give preferential treatment to Land Rover, Jaguar, and Rolls-Royce over American car manufacturers. That's not a deal. That's not a comprehensive trading relationship. There were deals. There was a deal like AUKUS, Australia, UK, US, trilateral defense agreement that this guy Colby Elridge in the Pentagon is trying to rip that deal to shreds. There was a deal, somewhat, I suppose, with Ukraine, where Ukraine was going to give us rare earth minerals that Trump insisted on. But then what does Donald Trump do? Rips it apart, not a real, because he didn't treat it as a real deal, allowed Russia to basically reclaim the lithium fields in Ukraine. And now Donald Trump is defunding Ukraine and didn't tell Ukraine, didn't tell Europe, didn't tell anybody at the G7, didn't tell anybody at NATO, but is not giving Ukraine the weapons that Congress approved that they need to survive, as Putin's assembled his biggest forces yet, 50,000 strong in Sumy, and is bringing 30,000 conscripts from North Korea. You can't do deals with this guy. It's social media posts, or he just says he's doing something and absolutely, doesn't follow through at all. So here we are. We're about to actually hit day 90. Remember, 90 deals in 90 days. He's done no actual deals. He's done 2 fake ones, 1 or 3 fake ones, maybe. Vietnam, fake deal. UK, fake deal. China, completely fake deal, just a capitulation. But I see no difference really in China and Vietnam. It's just a restructuring of the tariffs, which is a tax on Americans. And now if China sends goods to Vietnam, it's now taxing Americans at 40%. And this is impacting our economy. Despite Donald Trump saying gas prices are $1.98, they're not. Despite saying we've cured inflation, we haven't. Core inflation's on the rise. The fundamentals of the economy are not doing well. Construction is decreasing. Manufacturing is decreasing. May construction spending month over month significantly lower. Housing less affordable right now. You take a look at the dollar, which I think is significant because it's showing that the world is moving away from the United States as a reserve currency. The US dollar has suffered its worst first half of the year since 1973, as Trump's trade and economic policies prompt global investors to rethink their exposure to the world's dominant currency. You know how we know that data is accurate? Because it's also aggregated relative to the rest of the world. So we have other baselines, the other countries. That's how we know. But right now, the United States data seems to be complete and utter trash. We warned people about that. And here, I don't want to go into an area where we go, oh, Ben, you're being conspiratorial, this or that. But I want to break it down so you can all see that I truly believe that the jobs report that came out on Thursday, it literally defies logic for me. And you could disagree with it, but there's something in here that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. One of the first red flags to me is the number, right? Because Donald Trump always picks bizarre numbers or numbers that have some symbolic meaning to him. So the number was $147,000, 147,000 jobs that were added. The jobs report shattered expectations, 147, 47th president, 147. That's a bit of a red flag to me right before July 4th. He's all about making this fake propaganda symbolism. So that was a red flag. But then the day before, Fox reported that the ADP private payroll data, so all of the private jobs, that there was a loss of 33,000 private sector jobs that ADP reported from its payrolls. ADP is pretty accurate on that. They have no axe to grind. They accumulate their payroll data and then they post it. Here was the moment on Fox when Maria Bartiromo was speaking with MAGA Republican Senator Kramer, where she thinks there's going to be a job gain in the private sector, but there's a job loss. Watch what happens. Let's play it.
Of course, President Trump is talking about this bill leading to growth in the economy. We are waiting any moment now to get the jobs numbers for the month of May. The expectations call for the ADP numbers to be up 95,000 for the month of June, rather. It's the June jobs data, and we'll, of course, right now seeing the number actually show a decline in jobs, down 33,000 on ADP. The bill includes $25 billion for the Golden Dome, the missile defense system. Senator, you introduced a bill supporting the construction of that system. I want to get your take on defense and whether or not.
So everybody expected.
Quick, change the subject.
Yeah, I'll show you one and more of those in a minute where they start bringing up Mandami and all of these things. But everybody expected, wow, if private sector was down 33,000 and we thought there was going to be a gain of 100,000, holy crap. This jobs report that's going to come out on Thursday is going to be a disaster. Why? Because we all know intuitively that government jobs have decreased. If anything, they thought that the private sector jobs would help with balance out the government jobs that are being cut off. Why? Because if you've lived in the last 6-7 months of existence, you know the government's firing everybody. And you know that state governments are being defunded. You know that the Department of Education is defunding all of these things. You know that government is not funding government jobs. We know those stories. That's one of the main things the Trump regime's been talking about. And we know people in our lives who have lost their government jobs. So everybody thinks that the job report that's going to come out on Thursday is going to be an absolute disaster. But what happens? 147,000 jobs created. So how is there basically a 200,000 job swing in the positive direction from where we were yesterday with this dynamic? And then they tell us the big job gain were teachers. In the month of June, almost 100,000 teachers being added when school is out and other government service related jobs. That's where all of a sudden a massive burst in government jobs. And then when you even look at the way Bloomberg's talking about it, they give Donald Trump the benefit of the headline, but they say that the Bureau of Labor Statistic model, they say it basically, we don't think this suggests the labor market is in solid shape, as the unemployment drop was due to exits from the labor force, while payroll gains were exaggerated by a Bureau of Labor Statistic model. Exaggerate. That's the language. Exaggerated. Do you mean exaggerated like Donald Trump exaggerated the cost of Mar-a-Lago or the value of it? Do you mean exaggerated like Donald Trump was a fraud and found liable for fraud because he exaggerates the price of his things and the valuations of things? And that's what he's done his whole life. Is that the exaggeration that we're talking about? You mean fraud. That's what you mean. And what we're seeing right now, and that's why I wanted to start the show by showing the casinos and the shuttles, because he's doing it with the economy. And that's why I'm like, I don't want to sound like, a conspiratorial person who's like, well, those job numbers. But I want to say to you, you're telling me the growth happened in the area that Trump bragged was the cut? Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and that was Bloomberg saying that the numbers seemed exaggerated. And so, I don't think Bloomberg is going to be going out there on some crazy conspiracy. And here's the thing. We're dealing right now with this regime and these Republicans who are clearly comfortable lying about anything, even the most basic things. They lie straight to your face. And one of the things about Trump is that he does give away the game quite frequently. We remember this during his previous administration when COVID happened and he was mad about all the testing. And he said, if you don't test, there won't be any cases. He was mad because these numbers were being reported and it was showing just how bad COVID was getting, something that he said was a hoax, something that he said would go away, would never reach our shores, and the lies went on and on and on. But COVID was here. COVID was raging. People were dying. There were mobile morgues, and Donald Trump was not mad about that. Donald Trump was mad that the numbers were being reported. And Trump also, I should mention, gets this jobs data before anybody else does. He gets this the day before. So he already has it. He's able to look at it. He's able to do what he wants with it prior to anybody finding out publicly as to what these numbers are, which is just something I think we should also throw out. But you see this entire party right now, and Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt, this whole regime, they say things like we said in the beginning. They are so brazen. They go, no tax on Social Security is in this bill. It's in this bill. It's not in this bill. It's not anywhere to be found in this bill. If they're willing to lie about something that is that clearly a blatant lie, they're willing to lie about anything. And that's the thing you have to realize anytime we're getting numbers from this government, anytime we're hearing anything from Donald Trump. And as Ben mentioned earlier as well, what were all those court cases about that we covered over the past few years? Donald Trump's has had civil fraud cases, had criminal fraud cases. And what were those about? They were about him fudging numbers. They were about him making up numbers. Now this guy has the weight of the White House and a whole regime behind him of sycophants and people who are willing to do his bidding. He's been gutting these agencies of all their key people who were kind of actual, longtime government employees to put in his goons in these positions. You have people in power leading the Republican Party in all types of positions across that entire party who are willing to parrot these lies, who are willing to say, I heard Mike Johnson today. He gave his speech after Hakeem Jeffries' speech today, and they were celebrating that the vote was about to happen. And Mike Johnson was like, and this bill is for all Americans who want to bring down the deficit and bring back fiscal responsibility. How do you say such a thing when it is so obviously false? This is the biggest deficit and debt bomb in the United States history, and it's happening under Mike Johnson, under Donald Trump. But the way they always do it, they just say the opposite. They just lie, to go back to what I said in the beginning. And you know what doesn't lie? The data. And we could pull this chart up right here. Here's the deficit that you could see, deficit chart since the year 1900 in the United States. Let's go to modern history. Let's focus on this last bit for our audio listeners. It's a chart of the deficit going up and down. What happens under Clinton? That deficit became a surplus under a Democratic president. What happened under Obama? The huge spike in the deficit that occurred during the Bush administration was a lot lessened under Obama. You could see it's a very drastic shift down. Yes, there was more added to the debt, but the deficit was cut quite a bit because the deficit exploded under Bush. Then you see the Trump presidency. Surprise, surprise. What happens again? The deficit skyrockets again. Biden takes over. What happens again? Like clockwork, the deficit is once again slashed by a significant amount. Now Republicans are back in power. And guess what? The chart is going to do the same exact thing that it always does. We are going to see a massive spike here. And once the Democrats, if they were to win the midterms, if they were to take power again, these same people would all of a sudden start caring about the deficit again, caring about the debt again. But these people who call themselves fiscal conservatives, fiscal hawks, whatever they want to name themselves, they are just completely full of shit. Because every time they have the power, what do? Increase the deficit, increase the debt, screw over Americans, give handouts to the rich, spread these lies that giving more money to the rich is going to trickle down to the poor while income inequality explodes across the country. Say we don't have money to give people health care while they give billions and billions of dollars to ICE, to Alligator Alcatraz, to all these horrific things. The lies are consistent. They're always there. The data is there, but the propaganda is very strong. That's why they need to spend so much money on their propaganda. That's why they need Fox News pumped into everyone's home every single night. That's why they need this regime. That's why they need these people who just hold the line and say these lies every day, because they can't let this house of cards fall. And it's a very precarious house of cards that they have built on lies. I know you all are not duped, but I think it's important that we call them out now, because we know over the next few years, few weeks, few days, few months, few years, whatever you want to say, they are going to continue to lie about these things. And when the pain starts to hit people, like after the midterms, when these Medicaid cuts start to kick in, what are they going to do? They're going to blame Democrats. They're going to pull out all the usual stops. Their propaganda machine is going to ramp up in order to try to twist their own actions to blame them on other people. But the blame falls squarely with this one group. And I think it's important that we point that out. This is not an issue of both sides at all.
Well said. Well said. Fiscal conservatives, these fiscal hawks, they're fiscal clowns. They lie, Brett, to your point, as easy as they breathe, this regime. It's absolutely disgusting. And I don't want to harp on this, but Bloomberg, grow a spine. This is the coming to life of like the big strong dog little puppy meme, where when Joe Biden's president, Bloomberg's line, do you remember that? The headline, 100% chance of recession under Biden. They were a real big dog with their chest puffing out. And now with this, oh, excuse me, Trump may be potentially exaggerating about these job numbers. Call it, it's fraud, like Ben said. Call it out. A lie is a lie. Like, this is absurd to me, and we're going to scream it from the rooftops every chance we get.
We absolutely are. When we come back, I want to discuss what's going on in Florida, the United States, sending the Marines into Florida. That Alligator Alcatraz is already flooded because it's in an area where the tropical storms and hurricanes hit. And that's what happens when you put it in an area that clearly will get flooded. I mean, this is a concentration camp. And it reminds me actually of the early concentration camp. Charlie Angus said this to me. He's like, Hitler didn't start with Auschwitz. He started with Dachau. And he said, this reminds me more of that, but it's the first step to getting there. And now when we see the imagery of Alligator Alcatraz with the White House doing jokes about the alligators, tearing apart the bodies of migrants and eating their flesh, that's not a funny joke. And the dehumanization, exactly what we saw in Nazi Germany. Sometimes you don't want to make the comparison, but it's a very clear comparison to me. And it's why during the election, we showed Trump and Hitler side by side with their language. And we'll talk about that. I want to the Marines that are going to be in Florida as they take away temporary protected status from Venezuelans and Haitians and Cubans. Like they're coming for you when they're going to throw you in alligator camps. Like that's what they're doing. But you still say, well, we disagree with him on immigration, but on the other issues, when it comes to transgender volleyball players, we got you there. But when it comes to throwing us in the alligator camps where we can get eaten alive, I'm going to have to say respectfully, got to disagree. But when it comes to transgender volleyball, I feel very strongly about that. What are we talking about here, folks? What are we talking about here? We're talking about our democracy on the line. That's what we do here at the MeidasTouch Network. Become a member to our YouTube channel. We built this with zero outside investors. We need your help. Become a member right now of our YouTube channel. Gift memberships to others. You can gift unlimited memberships to people. We're trying to grow those memberships here on our YouTube. Not sure if you notice as well, I've been able to sit in a chair now for about hour plus length. So starting next week, we will do a Patreon meeting with everybody as well. Now that I'm able to actually sit down for extended periods of time, because after we do the show, I have to go and usually rest on a bed for an hour. But now I can actually do it. Let's take our last quick break of the show. We will be right back after this quick break.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I love soda, and I've loved soda my whole life, well into my 20s and my early 30s. And with all that sugar, though, I just know the compounding effect. Well, I needed to try something different. Olipop is a new kind of soda that provides the classic soda taste with the health benefits of functional ingredient blend to support digestive health. Olipop is reimagining soda with high fiber and only 2 to 5 grams of sugar per can. Olipop is sold online and available in almost 50,000 retailers nationwide. Now, almost every American has some sort of relationship with soda, from their childhood or their adulthood. Some people grew up drinking it all the time and then quit, and some people are still addicted to it like me and are trying to quit. Olipop uses functional ingredient blend to support digestive health. Olipop offers a delicious alternative to traditional soda, providing mainstream consumers with the flavor they want without the typical health trade-offs. 90% of Americans consume more than the USDA's daily recommended added sugar intake of 30 grams. Sweetened beverages like soda are the leading source of added sugars in the American diet. Olipop is much lower in sugar than conventional sodas, with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar from natural sources. There's no added sugar. Their vintage cola has just 2 grams of sugar as compared to a regular Coca-Cola, which has 39 grams of sugar. Their orange squeeze has 5 grams of sugar compared to the orange Fanta, which has 44 grams of sugar. Get a free can of Olipop. Buy any 2 cans of Olipop in store and Olipop will pay you back for one. Works on any flavor, any retailer. Just head to drinkolipop.com/Meidas. Olipop is sold online, drinkolipop.com plus Amazon, and available in almost 50,000 retailers nationwide, including Costco, Walmart, Target, Publix, Whole Foods, Kroger, and Heb. Again, head to drinkolipop.com/Meidas.
So if you own a handgun for self-defense the way that I do, Your storage likely fits into one of two frustrating categories. It's either locked away, safe but out of reach in an emergency, or it's unsecured, leaving it vulnerable to anyone. Not good. But Stopbox USA, which is what I use, they saw the problem and they designed a groundbreaking solution, the Stopbox Pro. So with the Stopbox Pro, you'll never have to choose between security and readiness again. Its ingenious push-button locking system gives you fast, reliable access when every second matters, without the hassle of keys or reliance on batteries. It's 100% mechanical, so it works every time, no power needed. With Stopbox USA, you can finally have both security and readiness. The Stopbox Pro's mechanical keyless system allows for fast, secure access without the risk of fumbling for keys when every second counts. It's also battery free, so you never have to worry about your lock not working. Traveling with peace of mind is easy because the Stopbox Pro is TSA compliant. It also offers a range of other innovative products, including their vehicle safety, Stopbox does that is, chamber lock and other essential gear designed to keep you prepared and protected wherever you are. So for a limited time only, our listeners are going to get a crazy deal that we all worked out with Stopbox. Our listeners are getting 10% off your entire order when you use code TRUTH. And right now, Stopbox is also running a deal on their most popular bundle, the 2-pack, which saves you over 30% and comes with free accessories and shipping. That's 10% off and a big bundle discount when you use code TRUTH at StopboxUSA.com. So discover a better way to balance security and readiness with Stopbox. Once again, go to StopboxUSA.com and use that code TRUTH. And look, it's really important, for me to have Stopbox. I own a handgun for self-defense. And, I think it's important that if you're a responsible gun owner, you use a device like Stopbox. Stopbox is what I use. Thank you so much and check them out.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. That Olipop, brothers, I'm telling you, drink of the summer. Benji, where to next?
Take a look right here. This is the fundraising by the Republicans. This is official. This is how their congressional campaign is raising money. Alligator Alcatraz, and it says ice with a bite. And they're selling T-shirts with alligators with ice hats on. Ice with a bite, meaning they're making jokes about alligators mauling migrants to death. And the official White House account is also posting AI Trump with AI alligators wearing ice hats, saying, "Make America safe again." Why would Alligator Alcatraz be making America safe again? Why is it making America safe again when you have ICE agents in masks where people feel they're being kidnapped and patrolling the streets like an authoritarian regime, because that's what it is, attacking people at Home Depots and inside restaurants and at department stores and vendors outside or at Dodger Stadium. You saw, because the Dodgers donated $1 million to a migrant group. You saw Stephen Miller's group, their legal group, sued the Dodgers for DEI. You're suing the Dodgers for dude, they're like Asians on the Dodgers, white people, black people, quite literally, baseball teams are pretty different. The Dodgers are diverse, everybody. I mean, they're suing the Dodgers and a baseball team for diversity. They want baseball teams with all white people. I mean, what is going on here? Okay. And when I say what is going on here as well, Brett, you showed those images before the break, and you could just throw the B-roll up so people can see. I'll describe it for our audio listeners, is that there's flooding already, and not even that big of a storm, like a 30-minute storm that took place in the Everglades area. And the Alligator Alcatraz, that they're called the concentration camp, is already flooded because where it's built, this is what there's a reason why it was an abandoned airstrip. But $450 million has gone to build this up right away so that they can have all of their T-shirts and their merch that they're out there joking about migrants getting mauled and eaten to death by alligators, Brett.
Yeah, somehow the merch makes it like a million times worse. Like it takes something that's really ugly to begin with and makes it just even more just abhorrent. And then to see the people who are like spiking the football on this, it's always the usual suspects. So every time something happens, Trump rolls out his little MAGA propagandists who have to prop him up on websites like Twitter. I'm talking about people like Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk, and they're like they go to this place. Like I think it was a Benny Johnson post yesterday. The guy who was literally being funded by Russia. Remember that whole report that slipped out of the news cycle? And Benny was like there. He's smiling. He's wearing like an Alligator Alcatraz hat. He's like all thumbs up. Like these are the people who I have fireworks behind me, I guess. These are the people who position themselves as, we're Christian conservatives. This is what Jesus would do. Okay, really? You're going to act like you're, the epitome of Christianity here, and you're out there celebrating a facility with that has the intent purpose of sicking alligators on migrants if they don't behave the way you want them to behave. I mean, this is just like sick stuff that they are celebrating. And kind of, I think all that joking, all that mockery is also designed to kind of make it seem less bad in a way. Oh, well, we're joking about it. It's alligators. It's silly. It's funny. Check out my hat. Check out my t-shirt. Isn't this cool? This is so based, guys. This is so cool. It doesn't make the United States safer. If we saw this happening in every other country, like we'd probably invade them. Let's be real. Like we'd probably send the troops in to try to free the people, because like it's that deranged what we are experiencing here in the United States. I've never seen this, in our country, except when you go back to like the internment camps we had during World War II. This is just the latest in a series of, horrific things in our history that will leave a black mark on our history. Like the internment camps, like slavery, like other things that we've done in this country. It's truly horrific.
It's horrific, and it's just it's just heartless. Like these are people. I just want these are human beings, and you're gonna put a swamp around these folks and filled with alligators, and so they can't. If they were to escape, they get eaten by alligator. Look, human beings. What are we doing here as a society? How did we get here? Is like my question, because it's just that gross what we're looking at, Ben.
You're very right, Jordy, and I want to talk about just a few other things. I mentioned the Marines are being sent in that are going to be working with ICE in Florida. The Marines have announced that they're showing up, and I guess they're going to be supporting the ICE raids. They issued an official release on that. I wanted to share this clip earlier. Here's the official United States Northern Command. Let's pull it up one more time. In accordance with the June 17th Department of Defense statement, U.S. Northcom announces 200 Marines are going to Florida to provide administrative and logistical support to immigrations and customs enforcement. Now, remember when we told you that the order in California affects other states? That's what they're saying, that they have unlimited power to put Marines in any states that they want to, and that they'll activate the National Guard if they want to.
And now they're going to have like unlimited budget with this bill. Like this bill gives them billions and billions of dollars to do this.
ICE will have a bigger budget than basically any other military in the world, essentially, other than the United States military. The ICE budget will be bigger than the budget for the United States Marines. Is what ICE will have a bigger budget than. I wanted to give you two data points as well, though. The first one is, just so you see and hear the clip, was when Donald Trump was talking about the 90 deals in 90 days. He goes, "Yeah, I'm just going to send him letters. Like I'm just going to do letter deals." Like, what does that even mean? It means, I guess how he interprets it, he wasn't unable to do real deals with countries, so he's just going to give a tariff number. But by the way, even if he came up with a tariff number, here's our tariff number between the United States and Canada. Here's our tariff number between the United States and Mexico. That's not a deal. That's not what a trade deal. The USMCA was a deal, over 1,000 pages. It basically plagiarized NAFTA, modernized it a little bit, because Trump said he was going to stop NAFTA, and USMCA sounds like YMCA. But that was at least a trade deal. What we had with Japan was a trade deal. Trump doesn't want to. Trump just wants 20%, 30% tariffs on these countries, and he wants to make them submit and embarrass them. And these countries don't even know what the hell they're dealing with him. But here he is earlier talking about he's going to send letters. Here, play this clip.
Sir, you signed a trade deal with Vietnam yesterday. Great deal, 40% on transshipping. Can we expect any more of that before next week, sir?
So we have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have, far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And you can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated. I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States.
Why would you rather send out a letter than do a deal? Because it's easier. How many deals do you expect that we make? At least 90, I guess. If you said 90 in 90 days, if there's 170 countries, I think then 170, I don't know, but maybe start with what you said, 90 deals in 90 days. But as we went back, and it's why, again, I started showing you the casino. It's why I talked about all the Trump failed businesses and the fraudulent numbers and all of these things. Because when you live in a Trump world, you're living in a world of losers. I think that's an important point. He is a loser, a lifelong loser. He's not a winner. He's a con artist, a fraud, a felon, a sexual abuser for reasons that are entirely unclear to me. He gets groups of people to believe this shit. I don't know why. It makes no sense to me, how you could go and believe somebody who has failed and lied and committed fraud so many times. This time it's going to be good. I bet you this time. And there are so many examples. The gas is $1.98. No, it's not. You said 90 deals in 90 days. Now you say you're going to send them letters. You said there was going to be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. It would be easy. And now you go, I was just being sarcastic. You know how he talks about everything is rigged. This is rigged. The only thing that's being rigged for him is the way that media outside of the MeidasTouch network and some other independent media cover this, because every time he has a massive loss, they go, oh, he was being sarcastic. What are we talking about here? That was clearly a joke. What do we mean here? By the way, before we go, I got to show you two other things. I want to show you this clip right here of Congressmember Chaffetz, just so, because I told you, they were never even arguing that this budget bill was good or here's why people should pass the thing. What Congressmember Chaffetz was going while he was doing TV is basically like, you've taken photos with him. So there are two clips I want to show. First, where he goes, shame on you if you don't vote. Shame on you. Not defending the bill, just we're going to shame you. Let's play this one first.
And so you can either vote with the AOC or you can vote with Donald Trump. So don't tell me that you're a conservative if you're not with Donald Trump. That's not going to fly. You're never coming back. And shame on you. And you get on that plane and try to go home and try to tell everybody, oh, I stood tough. Yeah, I got these big Instagram muscles. Look how tough I am on Twitter. Well, you don't support the president. That's just not going to fly.
Clicks, Jason. Everyone's looking for a click.
You all are looking for, what are you doing for your constituents?
Very revealing, though, by the way, right? That Chaffetz admits, and former Congressman Chaffetz, right? Now he's just like a goober who goes on Fox and does weird stuff like that.
Goober.
But Chaffetz, I lost my train of thought. But you have.
I was going to say.
I was going to say, listen to it. It's very revealing how he defines what being a conservative is. He doesn't say conservative is defined by wanting to conserve traditions of the past or conserve the environment or lower taxes. He says, how could you call yourself a conservative if you're not supporting this president? It's an allegiance test. That is what the whole party is. Another word for it, it is a cult. That is what this whole thing is. You don't support Trump, then you are not a true Republican. That is exactly how Scientology works. You are a suppressive person if you do not support, everything we do. That is how the Republican Party operates.
And then they go, but you took photos with him, man. How could you not vote for? This is what they were saying. This was their way to extort and coerce or pressure these MAGA Republicans to vote for. You took photos with the guy. He goes, when has the guy ever been wrong? Trump has been there less than 6 months. He's been right on anything, on everything. Then he lists the things that Trump's been wrong against. And he goes, you took photos with him. You have to, if you take a photo with him, you have to vote for it. Now, you may think come on, Ben. He couldn't possibly say that. Word for word, bar for bar. Watch it.
That's the best the Senate could do. And you're going to hold up the president's agenda. President Trump, you rode every single coattail he had. You rode President Trump's wave to get into office. You took pictures with him. You bragged about him. You've touted him. Now the president is saying, this is my signature piece of legislation. He's been there less than 6 months in this term, Sean. Has he been wrong on anything? He hasn't been wrong on anything. What he's done in terms of tariffs, tackling inflation, all the safety and security, going after, trying to lock down and secure the border, give him.
This is real sick did I say sick stuff. That there's an audience that watches that, which is worse than North Korea regime media. That's worse what you saw there than Russia regime media. Has he been, inflation is up. The trade war has been a disaster, causing inflation to go up. The dollar is down. Jobs are actually down. He's been wrong about it. How about Iran? Has he been right about it? What is the Pentagon spokesperson say? You see, when you lie all the time, you can't keep your lies together sometimes. So watch when the Pentagon spokesperson lets it slip. Total obliteration. And then he can't help himself. He goes, and the funny thing is, when we talk to, our intelligence is like the foreign intelligence, 1 to 2 years, I think it'll be back. So the reporter's like, so it's not totally obliterated. You're saying they'll be able to have a nuclear weapon in a year? Well, we think the thinking that we think the thinking is the thinking that we think. Here, just watch this as the Pentagon spokesperson ties himself into a knot as he lies and then admits that the nuclear program is actually not destroyed. At the same time, Donald Trump's like, no more sanctions against Iran. China, you can trade with Iran. Be good. We'll see you later. We're done. Out. Play it.
First, our assessment of the battle damage around Fordo, Nantes, and Isfahan remains unchanged. I mean, we believe, and certainly all of the intelligence that we've seen have led us to believe that those facilities especially have been completely obliterated. And the interesting kind of side point about this, Tara, is that all of the conversations that we've had since Operation Midnight Hammer with our allies all around the world, but certainly also in the region, they say a couple of things. They share our sentiments about, the degradation of Iran's nuclear program and the fact that we have degraded their program by 1 to 2 years. At least intel assessments inside the department assess that, and I think their intelligence shares that conclusion.
Current assessments by this department think it's been degraded or delayed by 1 to 2 years? I
think we're thinking probably closer to 2 years, like degraded their program by 2 years. But
like broke the fourth wall. It was like, we think. And did you see he was like struggling with his conscience? It was like it's a wild clip to watch. Because like he actually has this moment where he's like, ugh. And he trips himself and he doesn't know what he's saying. And he goes and just admits the thing. But look, there's serious issues here because who does this all benefit also? It all benefits Putin because Putin's getting the Shahed drones from Iran as Iran gets funded. The alliance is Iran and Putin and China and North Korea. That's the group. While Peskov, Kremlin's Caroline Levitt, Putin's Levitt is this guy named Peskov, welcomes the fact that the U.S. just stopped shipping a lot of the critical weaponry that is needed to Ukraine. The U.S. doesn't tell Ukraine. The U.S. doesn't. I mean, Trump was with Zelensky at the NATO summit. Trump was not with Zelensky at the G7, but he was with the G7 partners. We don't tell them. This guy Colby Eldridge from the Pentagon, he's the one who wants to pull us out of the Australia, UK, US trilateral nuclear deterrent against China. He wants us out of AUKUS. People of Australia are absolutely pissed. Like, we have a deal. What are you talking about? You're going to try to pull out of AUKUS? We need nuclear submarine. Well, the whole thing is we got to work together. What are you doing here? So this guy Eldridge is pulling us out of AUKUS, not giving the weapons to Ukraine. He claimed to be like the hawk on Asia. He's like the China hawk. But now you're letting the China-Iran-Russia relationship thrive. I don't know. It seems that the main beneficiary of what went down in Iran was Russia. Donald Trump wanted to do his propaganda, and Benjamin Netanyahu got his criminal trial in Israel delayed. If you want to look at who are the winners over there, it seems to be not the American people, certainly. So I'll leave you with all of that. We'll still have our programming July 4th and in the weekend. Keep checking back on the MeidasTouch Network every 90 minutes or so. That's when new videos are posted on the YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member of our YouTube channel right now. Your memberships really are a big difference maker here. And we've seen a big growth in our YouTube memberships lately, which has been a massive help. We've got big news next week about MeidasTouch Canada with Charlie Angus. I'm excited about that. Our Substack's been posting a lot of great pieces. The president of Wesleyan University chose the MeidasTouch to publish an op-ed about what's happening with university presidents. You know, we're expanding. We're bringing on more editors. So one of the ways, the best way you can help is tell others about the MeidasTouch Network. We know economic times are hard. I don't want to pressure you into becoming a member if you can't afford it. So the best thing you can do is just share the network. If you can gift people memberships who can't afford it, that goes a huge way to help. And if you can become a member, become a member. You could also become a member at MeidasPlus.com, but become a member of our YouTube. It's easy. It's one click away. It makes a big difference. That's what I got to say. Brett, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, another way to support that's totally free. There's a lot of people watching us live right now. Please go ahead to Apple Podcasts, to Spotify, and subscribe to the MeidasTouch Podcast on audio. Super helpful. Send some episodes to friends and family. We've never spent a single penny on marketing dollars here at the MeidasTouch Network. It's all via word of mouth. It is all built by you. So let's keep spreading the word. I get that around. If you've already added the MeidasTouch Podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please consider leaving a 5-star review. When you go to an app like Apple Podcasts and go to the podcast, you just scroll down, you'll see the 5 stars. You'll see a little option to write a little something. It truly helps to get the word out there. It helps continue to keep us on the top of the charts. And we're truly just so grateful for your support. Let's keep spreading the truth. Remember, this starts with you. You are the people that the folks in your life trust the most. So we may be providing information right here, but now you go on, you take it if you're with family for the 4th of July, let them know what this bill actually does. Let them know what actually happens with these Medicare cuts, how they don't kick in until after the midterms. Let them know what's happening between Putin and Trump. Let people know about things that are going on. You don't have to be annoying about it, but you could. But have these conversations with your friends and family, because you are the most trusted voice in those people's lives. And so, thank you so much for listening. Excited to continue to deliver you all the content that you know and love over the rest of this weekend. Hope that some of you get to have some time off and spend it with friends and family. Thank you as always for your support.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty! Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.